Yeah. Welcome, everyone, to this 13th meeting of the Moving Forward RBE Learning Network. Tonight it's a social meeting, and we have a special guest from the Money Free Party who's going to talk to us a little bit about what he sees the role of the political arena, RBE Party in the political arena is to move us further to our goals. Before we get started, I noticed there are several new members, so I wanted to go over quickly the guidelines of the meeting so everybody knows exactly how these things go. So I'm sharing my screen here. We come to the group meetings to work on our understanding of RBE and to learn from each other. We do this by sharing our own knowledge, our experience, and our learning. It is beneficial to ourselves and the other group members to attend regularly. During the meetings, we avoid all forms of interruption. Each participant should feel free to express themselves without receiving commentary, advice, or criticism from others. If you wish to respond to or ask something about what another participant has said, it is best to do so privately after the meeting. 3, if you want to receive feedback from others, you can ask for it at the end of the meeting or while you're talking. We never give feedback without it having been requested. 4, we avoid talking about others. We come to the group in order to deepen our own understanding and learn from others. We concentrate on increasing our own understanding. 5, we avoid expressions of negativity, hatred, or superiority as this impedes our ability to learn, which is basically just nonviolent communication. 6, we avoid discussions of subjects not related to the topics on the agenda. 7, we avoid allowing the group to be dominated by one person, for instance, by allowing the position of chairperson to pass to a new member every meeting. That way, each member is able to contribute their own insights and experience for the greater good of the whole. Although nobody is forced to speak, each participant is encouraged to share. And 8, we remain aware that nobody is an absolute authority on anything. This promotes an attitude of equality, learning, and humility. So let's see if I can find stop share. Yeah, oh, I'm becoming so good at technology. Okay, so I'd like to just mention how this evening is organized. So I'd like to begin with a short introduction. Everybody gets to introduce themselves with their name, what country they're from, and their relationship with resource-based economy. Then I'm going to give Jodian the floor for a couple of minutes. I don't know how much he has in mind, but I'm allowing at least 15 for that. And while he's speaking, I think he would be happy if you would ask him questions as they come up. And the final part, I'd like to open up the floor to a discussion topic, which Stephanie wanted to bring in, and that is that she, well, I hope that she's going to join the meeting. If she does, then she can say exactly what the topic is. Otherwise, I'll summarize that for her. And finally, the last 5 minutes, I'll close the meeting and give you an update on the coming events for this learning group. Okay? So I'd like to open the meeting now to introductions. So anybody who feels like introducing themselves, please feel free. Perhaps I should start. My name is Charlotte Wenner. I'm currently living in the Netherlands, where I have since 1988. I'm from the United States originally, and I've been following Zeitgeist and the Venus Project for about 10 years now. Yeah, and last year, together with Roll and Stephanie, I started this learning network for meetings every other week. And I'm currently also working together with the World Summit in organizing a big event where all organizations devoted to a resource-based economy can come together and work out what we have to do. So that's enough for me. Maybe Jody, and you should be the next one.
Yeah, hi, Jodian from UK. I'm based in Bristol at the moment, but most of my life was in London. I'm with Money Free Party UK and Money Free World. Started off from TVP with the Venus Project, went through the mentor and all the sort of programs, and just absolutely loved the whole idea of resource-based economy. And that was about 8 years ago, and since then I can't do anything else apart from go forward with RBE in my head. Every communication, every time I talk with people, it's about RBE. Also, I'm helping out with the World Summit group, which is, to me, is a brilliant way to get everybody together. And this, as Charlotte says, we've got no agenda with the World Summit. We're just getting everybody together, and the agenda will arise from the meeting. So that's brilliant, and that's me. I can say lots more, but basically about my history. But that's who I am now at the moment.
Okay, thank you, Jodian. Who would like to go next? Yeah, Steve?
Yeah, all right. So I'm Steve Taylor, and I've been into since 2008, like a lot of people, saw Zeitgeist Addendum and was exposed to all this. So I've been into it since then. For maybe 8 years or more, I've been making videos to try to get the message out there. And last year, 2016, I had a little campaign for president. If you haven't seen those videos, look, Steve Taylor for president. I made about 11 of them, I think. And then now I'm going to be working with the Money Free Party in the U.S. to try to get the party established here. And so I just put together a website last month, and moneyfreepartyusa.com. And so you guys can check that out. And yeah, I made one video for it, to an introduction, and now I'm working on another one. I'm going to do the quick history of the bankers in the United States. So I'm going to try to get that information across again, saying these things many times. But that's the game. So that's where I am. I'm glad to be with all my friends who think the same way. All
Thanks,
right.
Steve. Could you tell us also where you are?
Oh, I'm in Hawaii right now. I'm taking care of my mother, who's 95 and needs 24-hour help. So I'm spending half the year doing that. And the other half, I built a house in Colorado 30 some years ago. So live up there when I'm not here. Yeah, back and forth. It's 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, right. Thank you.
Not early. Okay.
Okay, who'd like to go now? Let's see, from Stone. Hi guys, with you. Okay. Stone, do you want to introduce yourself, or do you just want to do that on the chat?
I'm good with just the chat. Those are the basic facts for where
Okay.
I'm coming from. Anybody has any questions, just shoot them through the chat window. I'm good just listening to you guys.
Okay, thanks a lot.
All right.
Who'd like to go now?
I might.
Okay, Nuno.
Okay, so my name is Nuno. I'm from Portugal, and I at the moment is where I live. I'm from, as I like to say, a place on earth called Portugal, and I studied electronics engineer, and I've been following and be kind of making some active membership on the Zeitgeist movement and also the Venus Project since 2007 mainly, yes.
Thank you. Who's next? Yeah, Semi, I see you smiling.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm originally from Cyprus. I'm currently living in Italy for studies, and I have heard about Venice project very recently. I was sleeping long time. I'm 30 years old, and I heard about 2 years ago. But then when I heard about it, I heard about it by the Zeitgeist movies, and I heard about them, and it's just, okay, this makes sense, resource-based economy. And after that, my life actually became about that, because it makes so much sense that all the other things didn't make sense at all after opening this, the view. And Steve Saylor, I saw your videos as well. I support you as a president, and I share your videos, and he makes lots of sense. So, those people in supporting resource-based economy is they are speaking logic to me, and the politicians and economists and something, they are just nonsense right now. So I just dedicated my maybe half of my life to share this information with people that I know and on the internet. So yeah.
Okay, yeah, thanks. You post a lot of stuff, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nicholas, maybe you can tell us something about yourself?
Everyone, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I'm Nicholas. I'm currently living in Ireland, but I feel more like a world citizen. And I'm studying automation and robotics here. I chose to do this because of RBE, and my main reason for doing so is because I want to contribute physically, in a sense, by building machines and solutions capable of, well, first and foremost, taking care of everyone's basic human needs. So like just automating shelter, food production, water purification, energy, and then building it up from there. So I'm kind of like interested in any transition methods, but I'm open to any approach. Like all I care, I think, like everyone here, is getting it done and getting us to an RBE. So I'll leave it at that. Cheers. Your mic. You're muted, Charlotte. Still muted, we can't hear you.
Good.
There we go.
Now, I'm a technological wizard, yes. Matt, would you like to say a few words?
Me? I don't think so. I'm Matt. I'm from Poland. I'm 22 years old, and I was always interested in economics, history, like ancient Babylon, and how the stuff were working in the ancient times. So like in the ancient civilizations, like Sumer and stuff. What else? I found it myself. The Venus Project and the research-based economy, just like the previous. I know who. Someone said that before. Just 2 years ago, I've watched Zeitgeist movies, and that's how it works. Something like that. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks. It's nice. I think this is the first time you're here, so it's nice to finally meet you on air.
Thank you very much. I was always interested in meditation, spirituality, and all the knowledge in the world. I just like to, I'm curious of the world, and I like to learn more things every day. And that's how I just found the Venus Project. And yeah, I'm sorry if my speech is so chaotic, but
Not at all.
My English is far more better than when I speak, just when I write something. So
Your English is fine, Matt.
oh,
Thank you for sharing.
thank you. Thanks.
I can't see Matt. He doesn't have a camera?
No, his camera isn't working.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so Stephanie just messaged
Thank you
me
very
that
much.
she's coming online. Janos, would you like to introduce yourself? Am I muted? No. Well, let's see. You have logged in from another device. Yeah, that's okay. Okay, Cody, would you like to say a few words? There's Stephanie. Hi, Steph.
Yeah, how are you?
Oh, good.
Sorry, I hope I didn't interrupt the discussion.
No,
Yeah, go on.
I'm trying to just get some people to talk. So if you want to go, we're just having the introduction now. So if you maybe want to give your name and where you're living and where you're from and how you got started with RBE, what you're doing, stuff like that.
Oh, right. Okay. So most of you have already known me. I'm Stephanie. I'm a student, economic student. I live in England, Lancaster to be specific. I'm a first year PhD though. Well, I started with RBE for a few years. I don't even remember, but until last year, I think, after Jack Fresco passed away, then I got in touch with Charlotte and Raul. So we started this moving forward RBE because we think RBE is not only about one organization. We should unite people from different angles or different perspective. So yeah, then we start this moving forward RBE, and yeah, it's really good to meet you all. And Jordan, hey, it's my first time to see you. I didn't make it to the Mexico, so right. So Charlotte, you're muted.
Of course. Yeah, it always sort of surprises me, the people living in England, like you and Jodian and Sienna also, you're all living there and thinking, why don't you guys just get together there? And Nicholas, but I suppose that's farther than things are in Holland. In Holland, you can basically get from one end of the country to the other in maximum 2.5 to 3 hours. So we have a sort of distorted idea about visiting people. Okay, well, I think everybody's introduced themselves that wanted to do so. So I'd like to move the meeting now on to the second point. And Jodian's going to talk to us a little bit about his work in the Money Free Party. And I'm really interested in this because, of course, most of you are aware of the fact that some RBE supporters, when you talk about getting involved in politics, they get really upset and they say, why should we do that when we want to have an RBE without any government? And so that's one of the things you very often hear, and I think it's important to hear from the Money Free Party, because I'm sure, I think that they probably have a very good reason how they see that working. So Jody, and I'm going to turn the meeting over now to you. Maybe you'd like to start with that point or anything you want.
Yeah, Charlotte, that's a brilliant point to start with. Why? Why are we doing it? And it's not to have another state government, like the communists made the mistake of doing. It's to, we're standing for one reason and one reason only, that is to raise awareness of the resource-based economy. Now, I come from a sort of salesman sort of position in my background life, that's what got me thinking about RBE. I was thinking, right, I know the science. Science says that if we have enough people, things will happen. So I thought, how can I get my message out with my limited resources as quickly and as fast as possible to as many people as possible? So instantly, my mind went straight to politics. You know, that is the biggest platform for getting new information out there. And I was thinking, yeah, right. So I have to either start an RBE party or find an RBE party already running. And I found one of my, because I go to the TVP UK like TVP, saves you having to do the work. It's there, all there for you. So I joined the party, but really what I did it for, and in my head, in the UK specifically, if we have MFP, we have 350 more candidates actually standing, then the whole country will hear about RBE every day, all day, from all the mainstream channels in UK. So I guess in any other country, that would be the similar thing. If you have enough candidates standing, then the news has to talk about what you're doing. So this is my premise, and that's where we're going purely for that, because RBE, like Jack said, you know, is a competent democracy. So once we've got we've got the people's mandate, say in the UK, I only need 15 million votes, and I have the people's mandate. I can transition, and as soon as I do, I like to say to people that I'm standing to put myself out of a job to make this the last political platform ever used, because once I'm in power, I step down. Money Free Party steps down completely, and then we leave the framework for decision making to take over. And that's as simple as that. And then from then on, we just get all the groups from each sector to take care of all the decisions. And now they're completely empowered because it's within the framework of the UK. And then I see, as you know, because the Queen owns 1/6 of the planet, I just see all the Commonwealth countries just following, boom, 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 as soon as we do it. Because at the moment, whether we like it or not, us Englishers, the UK is the reason for every single problem on the planet at the moment. We originated it. We started the banking systems. We did all of these things. So I feel if we start the process from UK, where we are the harbinger of evil, the City of London, I feel that everywhere will just follow suit, because, you know, we lead the way at the moment in the Western world. And that's as simple as that. So there's no power wanted by it. And in fact, if one of our MPs, one of our candidates win, I don't think we'd even enter into Parliament, because I myself couldn't take the oath of allegiance to the Queen. Now, of course, if all the RBE supporters said, swallow your pride, take the oath to the Queen, I would do it. And I'd probably get into trouble, because I'd want to swear allegiance to the planet and to its people and to its environment and its animals. So I'd get into massive amounts of trouble straight away. And I don't care about trouble. I'm here for trouble. I've been in trouble before. I know what the consequences of trouble is. So that's all we're doing it for. We're doing it for no power reasons whatsoever. As soon as we're in, we're either going to snuff our nose if it's only one or two of us, and not walk into the Parliament, and we'll just carry on campaigning. But all I want, and all we need, is 350 plus candidates standing, and boom, for a month to 2 months, BBC One, ITV4, these are our main channels. Channel 3, they'll be advertising RBE for me. So for me, that is the cheapest and quickest way. And during elections, hearts and minds are all talking about new ways of thinking. Why not enter into that platform and do it? It's not to take power in any way whatsoever. It's just to have the quickest message out there to everybody. And that's Money Free Party for you.
Okay, great. That's a great summary. I'm sure a lot of people have questions, but I've jotted down a few to get things started. You mentioned 350 candidates. How many candidates are there for the Money Free Party?
In the last year's election, I was the only one standing, but we've had Nick Tapping standing in the elections before. But now from doing this, I've galvanized a lot more RBE supporters, because I only want RBE supporters to stand. They're the ones who know that we don't want power. They've got no ego. They know what they're doing it for. They're not doing it to get into a job of power where they can make decisions. They're doing it for mass awareness in the country of this subject. And everybody I speak to about RBE, the initial reaction is love it, love it, love it. And then they think about it for a second, and then they must go into their head and say, how am I going to get 7 billion people to do this? And then they lose it from there. And so I don't care about what their concerns are of how they're going to get somebody. I just need them to like it. If they like RBE, that's it. And once I have the whole of one country knowing about RBE, it won't even be a debate. It won't even be a discussion. It will just, I believe, happen. Once they're aware that there is a structure and there's enough people behind them all saying, yeah, we want it.
Okay.
And I feel that a political platform is the only way to empower the people.
Okay, and you mentioned you only need 15 million votes to get a mandate. So I was wondering if you could clear a few things up in that statement. 15 million, first of all, what percentage of the total population of Great Britain is that? And the second thing is, what do you mean by have a mandate?
Right. So I'll answer the second one first, because that's easier. That when you win the election or you gain the seat for your local area, you've won the people's mandate of your area or the country to go forward with your policies and your ideas. So that's what the people's mandate. That's just a term, a frame of reference, a term that's said. So basically,
so if you say you have their mandate, that means they give you permission to make decisions for them. Okay.
Yeah. Which of course we wouldn't do, because especially myself, I'm an expert in nothing. So I'd be automatically, all I want is the framework for decision making put in place, and that's what we can do as a party. We can put that position in place, and then I'll bow down and enjoy the fruits of RBE. Probably taking part. What I say to people that the way decisions will go on is in a competent democracy. So that's basically anybody that's interested in the subject will take part in decisions, and that's globally. And number one, your first point, the 15 million. In England, we have 45 million registered voters. The last election, the election before this 2017 election, the Conservatives won with only 15 million votes. So that's less than a third of the actual voting people in that country. And then they had the mandate to be completely evil bastards. Excuse my language, sorry, I do apologize. But yeah, so and their mandate was given, they were allowed to do what they're doing. So I see it to myself, this is a very small thing to do, but for me, 350 people standing would be my greatest achievement for Money Free Party. I just want to raise awareness. I don't want to force my ideas on anybody. I just want to give them the idea, and then they will, greater minds than me will solve all the issues.
Okay. Anyone else got a question they'd like to bring up with Jodian? Yeah, Semi?
Now, my question is the old question that is, we are trying to win it through politics, the system, and do we have any alternatives? And I always wondered, maybe there are some movements like street protests with resource-based economy labels, walking. We know that there are millions of people supporting this cause. They want resource-based economy as me. It sounds logical. So is it is there a possibility to organize protests on the streets so that maybe we can say the mainstream media will not will not announce it to, will not make it news, but to raise awareness, maybe we can walk and people can see that resource-based economy and they can wonder, what is this? Because I never saw anything like that. So maybe this kind of strategy as an addition to political strategy.
Jodian, do you want to respond to that?
Yeah. I mean, this was when I first joined TVP activism. This was one of the first things I said to them. We've got to be joining in on the protests with our banners, talking about RBE, TVP. Rather than everybody shouting, the problem, we're shouting alongside them, the solution. I always thought they wanted to do it. I could never gather enough people in TVP circles to do it. But I have seen in the anonymous marches we have in London every 5th of November that RBE supporters are out there with their banners, TZM supporters especially. I find there's more TZM supporters in the UK than there are TVP at the moment. But for me, whoever first termed RBE is the guy I would follow, Just like when I was doing my research into history, the first thing I would think about was what was the first religion, sort of thing. That's obviously the one to follow. So yeah, my Jack Fresco for me is RBE. When I want to know something, I go and look in his lectures for how he explained things, and that's how I've moved on. So yeah, Sem, for sure, we've got to hit the protests. And a couple of other guys, we've talked of other things. There's some great plans out there if you really want to do it. Tie yourself to a bridge and dangle off it, that sort of thing. And that way you will definitely get the news and media, because someone has to come and rescue you for your, you've endangered your life. You'll get into massive trouble for endangering your own life. But that will get some publicity.
Yes, and what I like about what you say, Jodian, is how you say, everybody's out there protesting and saying this is the problem, but that the RBE supporters are saying this is the solution. So again, it's like that saying by Buckminster Fuller: you don't make a system obsolete. You don't make a system, destroy a system by attacking it. You make another system which makes it obsolete. So by going to these rallies and not complaining, but saying, look, there is another way. Look, this can all work much better. That is indeed, in my opinion, a more effective point for gating people. Nicholas, I think you had your hand up also about a question.
Yeah, I'm trying to still figure out how to formulate it, but I was just wondering kind of what people's response has been so far, because I don't know, I've been getting a bit involved politically in Ireland for some human rights issues, and I see getting anything done is just so slow and so frustrating. I'm just wondering what it's like for you guys over there. And also I was wondering, you probably know the quote by Jacques Fresco where he says that the problem is politicians don't solve problems, they make laws that don't address the human needs behind them. They're not aware of the latest developments in technology. They don't actually fix anything. They just write stuff that, like, if someone's hungry, they don't fix the hunger problem. They just say don't steal food, which does nothing at the end of the day. So I was just wondering, like, what your party's approach to that is.
Well, you see, for me and what I've been telling my candidates, because a lot of people, they don't want, I go to RBE supporters, and I've now got 10 candidates who are willing to stand in the next election. And what the main thing is that they don't want to go toe to toe with another candidate, arguing and debating and stuff like that. And I've told them from the start, every single person, I've said to them, no, you don't have to go toe to toe at all, because when we're talking about one problem, which is what happens in a debate, they talk about one problem. We just go to our de facto messages, is that can't solve the problems with the current tools of this government or this politics. We can only solve it in RBE, and in RBE it's not something to be solved because automatically be solved, because we've just taken out the root problem of all problems. We've taken out the cause effect of all problems. So, and then we just come straight back to RBE. So we're never having a debate. We're just talking about RBE and how, for that initial problem, how it would never have happened in the first place. And that's how I'm saying to my candidates, because I don't want to get into debates and discussions and point. It would be pointless, because they're coming from a point of view where their hands are tied by the monetary system, whereas my hands are tied only by the will of the people. So, I couldn't debate with somebody over that. I just cannot. I can just... So it's a good way in debating, because we call it hustings here in the UK. So it's a good way to just keep on talking about RBE without being rude. It's brilliant.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, Jodian, because all these things that they want to debate about, those are all symptoms, right? So they're constantly saying, look at this symptom, how are we going to fix this? Look at that symptom, how are we going to fix that? And RBE, that goes to the cause and says, well, let's look at the cause for all these social problems, for these human needs problems. And I don't know if that's exactly what you were looking for, Nicholas.
Yeah, kind of. I was also wondering what just like the audience, like the voters, like how are they receiving the message? Like, are you getting any kind of traction and support, or like what's the response been so far? I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, it was really good. I got 101 votes, which was brilliant for me, because I linked it straight away with Jack straight away. And the fact that, Jack's first term of resource-based economy of the year of my birth, 1978. So I'm like, wow, this is too many coincidences. But what it has done is Bristol and the area I stood for, I purposely stood for this one area out of the whole of UK. It was because this was the most forward-thinking group of people area in the UK. So I knew I would gain traction here with this idea, which I did as soon as I started speaking to people. I mean, over a month's period of going out there knocking on doors, I believe I only spoke to about 80 odd people. So, and then the rest of the other votes came from people I already know and speak around. So that's where the votes came from. So I could just imagine if I spoke to more people, then, the votes would just flood in. Because it literally is, everybody loves the idea. I've never met one person in any of my debates from any circle, from right-wing, left-wingers, religious people, or anything, that don't like the idea. Their only hurdle is, how does it happen? And that's where they go into negative mode and can't see it working, and they turn off. And that's not a problem. I just need to hear those two words from them. Yeah, I like the idea, and that's it. I move on. Don't worry about bloody how it's going to happen, mate. I just need to get everybody to know about the idea, and then it will happen. So have I answered everything, Nicholas, there on that one? Yeah.
Okay, great.
I'd have one more if I can squeeze it in.
This is typical Nicholas. He begins, I don't have anything. And he says, well, I just have one more.
No, it's the last one, I promise. Do you guys have like a, say you get the 15 million votes. Do you guys have like a technical proposal on a transition or something like that? Or is that something, or is it mostly just getting the message out? I'm just wondering, once you have the mandate, like, would you have a plan, basically? I mean,
and again, this has to be completely simplified, because it only is the framework. RBE has presented the framework, and then all decisions are going to be filled by the experts of the day in their field. So that's all we have to do is provide that framework for the new decision-making paradigm. And with when we win the election, which we're definitely going to, because the whole we're on a tip, it's a whole pyramid. Each revolution, each evolution of the human is all freeing ourselves to this point. And so when we do win, that's all we'll do. We'll be immediately, right, here's the framework. Now, this is the good thing about the Western societies, especially, we have every system in place. You know, we train teachers, we train scientists, we train doctors, we train engineers. We've got all the training programs in place. We're not starting from scratch. It's like, oh, chaos. No, we have every expert in place. Whether they know it or not, they're already in place doing the stuff that we need. Now, the transition, in my eyes, is going to be a phase of, right, so there's no money anymore. Now we start to realize how many jobs are completely worthless to the human need. And that's when people will start realizing they've got no jobs, they've got no customers, there's nobody using them. Where can I go and spend where can I help out somebody with a job to be done until it's automated? So the framework is very easy. There's no power structure. There's no, it's definitely no state. Where, you know, bloody communists made the mistake of doing that. And so it's very simple, very open, very transparent. And luckily at the moment, we've got great things like blockchain coming on, which is like an open democracy, direct democracy sort of vote, which, you know, I'm really looking into blockchain at the moment because I think blockchain is going to be our decision-making process tool for RBE. And, you know, the automation that of smart contracts, if you look into blockchain, smart contracts are automation of decision-making. And that for me is good. So we've got the software, we've got the technology, we've got everything in place, we've got the experts. We just need permission to go ahead. And that's it.
Okay, brilliant. Anyone else got a question? Stephanie, I see you looking very thoughtful there. Anything you'd like to ask?
I do have lots of questions, but I'm not sure if I can ask to money free party or this is for TVP. I'm so confused. So basically, yeah, I've been talking to Charlotte today. Okay, there are two questions. First question, it's a technical question. Do you know any mathematicians or economics who's literally doing specific topic in RBE transition? I'm talking about academically, as academia. Do you know anyone who's doing that at all? Because I know, because we are surrounded by RBE supporters, so we feel like, oh, there are lots of RBE supporters. But as an economic student, I can tell you, I don't talk about RBE to my colleagues. I did once. No, they treat me like I'm a lunatic. Some, you know, it didn't go well. And we had this speech given by one of my lecturer about UBI. I thought, okay, wow, he's talking about UBI. Then, you know, it's all looks really good. Then, yeah, he's really into UBI stuff like that. He's economics expert on that. At the end of the day, at the end of the speech, he said, he thinks it's unlikely that UBI can actually take place as the economics. You know what? Like my lecturer, BBC has interviewed him, the same as CCTV, which is a BBC in China. Yeah, so he's quite kind of famous in this area, but you know, it's not going as well as we think because we are surrounded by RBE. Doesn't even make sense. So, I mean, to take place, we need technical models. See, I'm doing I'm a first year PhD economics student. We need models that we can show people. Okay, in this model, the result shows that so under this condition, we can get to equilibrium. Which, I mean, let's not get that technical. You know, the model I'm talking about. I mean, does that make sense? I mean, it's definitely going to be mathematicians' work or economists, empirical or no, theoretical work. But yeah, does it even make sense?
Yeah, definitely the mathematics side for sure, because, you know, all software is written by, you know, it's a calculation in all programming, you know, to work to get to A to B. It's a sort of logic formula that they use. And to answer your question, have I spoken to anybody? Yes, I'm in great contact with my local university, University of West England, here in Bristol. And luckily enough, I've got like the topmost authority on robotics in England who's at this university, and anytime the BBC wants to talk to a robotics guy, this is their go-to guy. And I'm in personal email communication with him about RBE, and he loves the idea because he's working in a field where it doesn't coexist with the social economic model of today. So he's going against the tide with automation. So he loves it that there's an actual idea that embraces automation and wants automation, and has no side effects for the people that have been misplaced by the jobs. In terms of economics, I myself have steered clear of economics, because they only know economics from their socio-economic models, which to me is just complete farce. So any economics studies and professors, they're only good for today's models. And even then, because they keep the lie in their head and ignore the lie of how money's created, they all think they're doing a great job and that the money's turning around well, and that economics is actually speeding up all processes. So I still stay way clear of their indoctrination of economics.
Stephanie, I think the second point that you wanted to raise was about that discussion topic, but I wanted to do that at a different part of the meeting. Is that okay?
Is it today or another day? I'm fine with that.
No, but I mean, first, after we finish with the money-free party, then we're going to open it up. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. I see Semi has his hand up. Would you like to ask something?
It was about this topic, that an alternative economics, that during my PhD, I still struggling. I prepared a manuscript for an article, a scientific article on alternative currencies, including environmental issues, and to be used, like now there is eco-labeling, and I am trying to make it published. This is the fourth time. 3 times it's refused because they said it is not suitable. It's like too crazy, or so it's not fitting into this current economic structure. So I am, it was about environmental issues, and to get rid of, it's like eco-labeling. When you go to the market, when you buy something, it was about the environmental impact and human time, how much resources. It was about our resources. So I'm trying to publish this kind of mathematical thing, if you like. This is I never saw anywhere else close to this that can be used as a currency. There was a guy in USA that I emailed him. He was talking about climate change issues, and he was kind of editor of a scientific journal. And he said to me, I can do something about it to publish it. Can you send me your manuscript? And I sent to him. And he said, yeah, this is a good idea. It's too far for us because we are just looking for little incremental changes to the economic system. GDP is not good. We know GDP is not good, but we are just looking something else a little bit to include externalities. But, such concepts like RBE support is not here, as I know so far.
Yeah, I think that's something that most people in academia who support an RBE are running into. Stephanie, did you want to respond to that?
No, I have a question. Semi. Are you an environmental scientist or mathematician or engineer?
Environmental engineer, yes. But originally, I have a white background, so I know many stuff. But recently, PhD, doctorate is on environmental engineering, trying to do something, but, as I told you, it's not going anywhere meaningful. It's just
so you have done
hard
your
to publish. I am in the middle of my PhD.
Okay. No, we can talk in private. Yeah, we should definitely talk about this.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any more questions about for Jodian?
Yeah, I would like to ask if I could.
Yeah.
So the first one is that a lot of people knows that capitalism sucks, and more people know about Federal Reserve, the banking system, great fraud, the bankers, lobbyists, money that is being created out of thin air, and but a lot of people don't believe that there is a possibility to solve the problems, and there are a better socio-economic system that they don't know RBE. So how to spread the good word with the RBE on a global scale? And the second question is, we've talked about it on a messenger, I think, Jodian, but I'll ask the same question here because there is nothing like money free party in Poland. How to come up with this with money free party and start that in other countries where it don't exist at all. For example, Poland. Yeah.
Well, yeah, definitely. That's what one of my main jobs is out there for Money Free World, which is the umbrella of all the money free countries, is to get Money Free Party started in as many countries as possible. And I'm constantly begging and pleading and explaining, why we're standing, the quickness of the message and reaching more people than you've ever reached before. So yeah, definitely, please, if you want to do MFP Poland, jump in straight away, do it. And we'll help you as much as we can. Basically, if you want to start, you just have to look into the Polish government rules and political parties and can you stand at the moment. I mean, I know I don't know what your government's like, but I think you've got a parliament over there in Poland. So you probably would be similarly placed to me as in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
What was your other one, Matt? Your first one before?
The first one. So that a lot of people just don't know about RBE and how to spread the good word with the RBE on a global scale. To let people know that there is something like RBE and that the idea exists and that we can just make a transition from capitalism that sucks at all.
Yeah, exactly. Well, this is what we're doing. This is the premise of the Money Free Party. How can we jump onto a platform that advertises to the whole of the country? And this is the one way to do it. There's 350 candidates ensures that the whole of the UK will hear about resource-based economy. And that's it. We want the discussion going on in people's homes as well. So for me, it's like a fast track route advertising model, political platform.
I see. Okay. Thanks.
Okay, brilliant, Matt. Anyone else?
Thank you.
Well, I've just got one more comment for you, Jodian. You said if you actually got elected, you probably wouldn't even go to Parliament because you wouldn't be able to take allegiance to the Queen. And the immediate thought I had, Jodian, take a knee. Just like the football players in America, when they have to stand to sing the national anthem. I mean, instead of standing up, take a knee. That's don't limit yourself. There's plenty of possibilities, even if you're in the lion's den.
Well, that's why I said that, to you earlier, Charlotte, this is one thing that my own choice on the matter would be I wouldn't be able to stand the knee. But if RBE supporters said, hey, just do it, just go in there, swallow the bucket, we all know, because there's one Irish guy who, when he had to swear it, he stood there like this with his fingers crossed saying the oath. So, I can do that at least because he got away with it. But yeah, this was a massive problem for me because I've got no problem with any person in our society, and that includes the Queen. But I couldn't swear allegiance to her. I could only swear allegiance to the planet, animals, and people. You know, and so I couldn't just single out one person. So I couldn't do that. But I would do it if RBE people said this serves our needs, get in there, and I would do it.
Right.
But only if RBE said, yeah, do it. Because my personal opinion was, you know, and I've been arguing myself about this for the last 2 years since I've been involved with Money Free Party. Would I actually swear allegiance? And I can't do it, but I would do it if RBE said, do it, buddy, get in there. We need you in there. And then obviously then it's a job to do.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Okay then. Well, thanks, Jodian, for that filling us in on that. I found it extremely interesting, and I'd now like to open up the meeting to the discussion point that Stephanie wanted to raise, which I hope you'll be able to summarize for us, Stephanie.
Yeah, I wouldn't say summary because it's just a feeling. So maybe just from myself. So basically, over the past half year, I've been connecting with loads of RBE supporters. So at the beginning, I feel great because these people, they see problems and they think RBE is a potential solution, one of the best, I would say, so far. But then after a while, I felt quite a few of RBE supporters, they make RBE into a belief. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but I'm pretty sure you have seen some posts like, oh, we need RBE now. Hello, we don't even have a model. We don't even have a mathematical model to begin with. We don't even know what it looks like. What does it mean by we need RBE now? I mean the desperation, it just doesn't make sense, and it just really frustrating because it's not a thing that can solve everything. So let's say, give you extreme example. No. Yeah, let me just do that. It's really extreme, yeah. So, in our society, we have lots of so-called serial killers, yeah. So it cannot be stopped. We have serial killers, they are still serial killers. I mean, RBE cannot solve everything. Does that make sense? So those people, they think RBE is the ultimate solution to things, which it's not. It's just a framework. Quoting what Jack Fresco said, it can make a world a better place. But he didn't say it's a solution for everything. I mean, does it even make sense? That's what makes me so frustrated. Yeah, sorry.
It's okay. I'd just like to rephrase this so that in the way that I think you're mentioning it. What I hear you say is you mentioned four things I picked up on. The first one is making RBE, resource-based economy, into a kind of religion. And so in the same way you have Marxism or all kinds of isms, so it's becoming an RBE-ism. The second thing I hear you say is that people are starting to say things like, we need an RBE now, as some kind of slogan, just like make America great again. It's like, and what is related to that, what I hear you say, is that feeling of hopelessness. And I think you really hit the nail on the head there. We have to understand that the people that grasp ideas like this are coming from a place of big hopelessness. So there's we can have a bit of compassion for how hopeless people are in the world today with the way things are. The fourth thing I hear you say is that people look to the resource-based economy as some kind of ultimate solution, and whereas it's only a framework. And I think this is one of the most important things, is that what a lot of people maybe miss is that a resource-based economy is as organic as resources are themselves. So it's constantly changing, constantly growing, constantly expanding, and constantly being enriched. But people look at it like it's some kind of 10 commandments. Thou shalt not this, thou shalt not use money, thou shalt not have government, thou shalt not elect, that sort of thing. So those are the 4 points I heard you say. So, okay, Semi, I saw you raise your hand. Would you like to respond to that?
Before Sammy responds, can I just readdress your third question? I said the desperation. The desperation. I don't mean I don't have compassion for those people, because I've been to Africa. I've seen poverty. I've seen how people live. I do feel for them, because I do feel I'm one of them. Yeah, but when I say desperation, I mean the desperation comes from misunderstanding. The desperation comes from the concept that RBE is an ultimate solution. So once we get RBE, we're gonna solve everything. No, it's not. So that's what I mean. So it's not about compassion. I do really feel this for these people. Yeah. Sorry.
I know you do, Stephanie. Semi, would you like to respond, and then Jodian?
Yeah. So I forgot why I raised my hand, but I can comment on it was so long. But I understand Stephanie's worries, but I look at this situation very differently from a kind of statistical point of view, that many people will have different opinions. Of course, it's just statistical truth. It's as long as you don't prune them, to make them understand certain areas, the deviation from the mean will happen. So such people you can find at least one person, just many crazy ideas, but the main goal is to make the general population understand the idea, and to make them go in this direction. I think, because I don't it is meaningless to talk in terms of what one person said or the other said, because they will say many things, but what matters is the general opinion. I think what many people agrees on an idea or something, right? You can hear anything about any idea, any opinion. So statistical, I look at it's a statistical thing that's moving towards a direction. And is it finishing? Our conversation is going to end, or because I want to ask Jodian one thing about maybe a request that maybe this summer. My uncle has a national TV. He is a presenter, he's a news presenter. So I asked him, because I was so passionate about this idea, that is North Cyprus has about 1 million population. So I wanted to go to this news and talk about, I talked to my uncle that is about environmental issues, but I will talk about this alternative as well. So if he wants to, like in North Cyprus, we are so isolated, and these 1 million people just don't know anything about resource, but don't know anything about alternatives, and they feel so isolated. So maybe he can prepare a video so I can translate or something, like just pop up in my mind that he can make those people feel that the world is bigger and there are alternatives and they are not alone in those problems and there are solutions, kind of. So I can transmit the message through this TV, national TV. It's a national TV, so it's a big population. So I like to hear his opinion about that. But some suggestions. I just pop up my mind.
Yeah, Jodian, feel free to respond.
Semi, yeah, of course, we can get together after this and work on some ideas that you were developing there. Stephanie, I'd like to definitely go back to your one. We find with serial killers that the environment that they were brought up in created them with serial killers. So with the RBE, we create an environment where that abhorrent behavior wouldn't have happened to them as a child. So they go up to they still have mental illness. And, we know that mental illness is the only problem that RBE can't solve. But what we can say is how it's monitored, how we care for them, and what we do, which is a very easy solution, because we're not going to have prisons. We're not going to lock them up. We're going to let them freely walk in everyday society. But I would say if they're violently mentally disturbed, that we just have to have a drone flying over their head, monitoring them at all times. And then as soon as they start to raise their feelings, and if everybody consents that if mental ill patients that are getting violent, then we get the robots to come in with their cotton wool arms, zoom them off to a peaceful area and do the ums with them for 10 minutes and then bring them back. I'm sure that's the end of that problem. Because, for mentally disturbed people, this is always going to be a problem in their life. And I don't want to lock them up, and I don't want to restrict their freedoms in any way. And so now, after that, the house, we are living in a planet where, and you talked about the third world countries. Now, it's the UK's socio-economic model that's created, put this third world country, Africa, into such poor state of affairs. So, of course, this has to be addressed. Of course, there's an urgency, because whilst we're talking, people are dying of just simple things like starvation, poor health, and so many things that can be stopped, and so many things that their governments could have solved themselves if they weren't being raped of their resources and their monetary values that they could do. And of course, our society, the way that we indoctrinate people is that foolishly we look up to people that are wealthy and are horrible people and obnoxious as if they're the greatest people in the world. So we all want to follow their leader. We all want to be wealthy. We all want to be obnoxious. We all want to rule the world. So that's our model at the moment. And it's even going on in Africa, in the poor countries. There's people there that want to be wealthy, horrible, obnoxious. They want to follow along the lines of the capitalists. So our clever capitalists here tap into those minds there, the greedy people in Africa, and use them and take everything away from them. So there's a mad urgency today to solve things, mad urgency. You may not see poor, or you've seen poor, and you think they've caused it themselves, but no, the socio-economic model of the Western world has caused their boredom. No one else. They didn't do themselves. In fact, before we came there, they'd never heard of homelessness. They'd never heard of hunger. They'd never heard of poverty until the Western world got there and told them that you've got all these things. Let us help you. Let's loan you some money. We'll loan you some money to get you out of this problem that you've got. And they're like, what problem? Didn't even know. What? Huh?
Yeah, excellent points, Jodian. Thank you. I wanted to also respond to something you said, Jodian, about mental illness and how in an RBE we can't do anything against mental illness. However, Nuno, we'll come to you in a minute. And you said that we'll have a drone, and if somebody gets violent, that they'll go to a place and, be doing their ohms or whatever. And Stephanie had to laugh, but it reminded me of something I heard about in schools in New York. They have gotten rid of detention for school children that misbehave, and they teach them meditation instead. And also, we have to remember that a lot of the material circumstances which studies have shown basically that mental illness and violent behavior by these serial killers usually comes from a sense of being powerless and not having a meaningful work, and things like that. So in an RBE, of course, everybody's going to have a meaningful impact on society, and I see a lot of hands, but I know Nuno was first. So these situations, these material circumstances are going to do also so many things to help reduce the causes which give rise to the worst forms of mental illness. Nuno, what would you like to say?
Thank you, Stephanie. My question or some kind of remark is actually on that mental illness issue. I see it, you raising the issue like in the point of view of a person who is being deeply disturbed, that would be advisable, and I mean medical advisable, not to be able to be on the streets, and being advisable even to be incarcerated. When you told me that resource-based economy couldn't solve that problem, I see it towards when a resource-based economy that not predicts any kind of imprisonment, but a resource-based economy can't be all that strict. I would have no issue if a resource-based economy even predicts on cases that it couldn't solve imprisonment. On top of that, is agreeable that many kinds of disturbances and misbehavements and physical abusements are related to the system we live in, related to the economic system. Either it's because a person develops a mental illness by not being able to deal with the fellowship or a companion or some other friends that person might have, either being because that person has a lot of stress on his paid job that the person doesn't like to do so and feels obligated to have to eat on the end of the day for her and or him and her family. Those kinds of issues, those kind of disturbances, and I guess it would be the most of it would be totally eliminated, just like Jack Fresco predicted it, and also Peter Joseph, he being in a self-nutritious, resource-based economy. But I don't give any away of consideration of we need to have prisons. That wouldn't jeopardize the resource-based economy system at all.
No, I think you may have a point there, Nuno. In terms of transition, when we still have people in society who have been brought up in these horrible conditions, it's hard to say exactly what will be necessary. But whatever is chosen, I'm sure it will be done in a much more humane, in a much more life-supporting method. And I think that's also one of the things that has to be stressed about a resource-based economy, or whatever it is we're working towards, that the basic capital, the basic most important item is that which supports life, all kinds of life. And as long as that fundamental principle is integrated in everything, whether it be care for the sick or for homes or jobs or whatever, as long as life remains the most important piece of capital, then it's sure to go the right direction, I think. Okay, let's see. Somebody else wanted to say something, I think. Yeah, Semi.
Okay, I'm talking too much tonight, but I just maybe I can add some ideas that what we see today as criminal is actually not criminal. For example, like it's a cultural construct that we say you shouldn't do that. It bothers me. For example, getting naked and walking on the street harms no one, but it's so taboo that they lock you in the prison. And just Jack Fresco said there will be no prisons. They will go and they will have some therapy. Some therapy means, for me, it is love. It is giving compassion. It is giving you're accepted whatever your problems was. And you see you are not, if someone kills someone, you just take him and just study why, his history, why he killed someone. And you learn from him, but you just don't punish him. Maybe you can isolate until he will heal. If he heals ever, maybe he will not heal because the damage is permanent. And then you don't punish, you just make him live until he dies or something like that. Just it's about all compassion. It's not about punishing someone. It's about because punishment doesn't solve anything. See, so science, understanding.
Yeah, good point.
Accumulation of knowledge.
If you think of it, when as soon as property is gotten rid of, think of all of the crimes that are immediately going to disappear. We before I let you talk, Nuno, I just wanted to remind people that Stephanie's basic point that she asked for some feedback on was about how people are saying that an RBE is some kind of religion or some kind of ultimate solution, and what we can do to deal with that. So Nuno, you wanted to add something?
Yes, when I was supposing to the eventual need from arresting or being incarcerated someone, I was considering in the point of view of the protection of the society, protection of some illnesses about the person himself, and protection about others, not in a kind of a punitive punishment. Either being on a transition phase or even mostly in a resource-based economy. Yes.
Yeah, I think that was clear also to us, Nuno, that you were coming from that position. Okay, does anyone have something to add to Stephanie's point about what we can do about these kind of slogans, about these kinds of worship of RBE, or is that something that we can basically say, yeah, education? Stephanie, you want to say something?
Yeah, very shortly. So I think, well, from a personal opinion, I think the slogan comes from misunderstanding. So as I said again, it's not an ultimate solution. So that means it's not going to eliminate all the so-called crimes. People would still probably get murdered, but just a lot less. It's not going to be zero. Does it even make sense? Statistically, there's zero chance. Let's not say zero chance. It's highly unlikely that we got 7 billion people and no murder, no death. I mean, it just highly impossible. So that's why I say it's not an ultimate solution, because they say they're probably still gonna be pedophile in some way. Yeah, we have law against pedophile, but let's be honest, the pedophile ring it's way beyond the the law control. So yeah, it's not, again, it's not it's not ultimate solution for everything, but it can make this world a much better place for old people. That's less people gonna die. So yeah, I'm done here.
Okay, I'm going to respond first and then you, Jodian. One thing I do want to say in response to that is that obviously the points you're bringing up, they're absolutely true. And that's why I think one of the strongest points about RBE and how Jacques even gave the framework is that he said there has to be a complete change of mindset, that the changing of values is essential to the whole vision of the Venus Project. And I think when we're in that transition, when we're working towards RBE, that at least half of the people, sure, we're going to have engineers, sure, we're going to have techies like Nicholas working on robotics and stuff, but you're going to have also huge number of peoples who are not technically inclined, but they are people inclined, and they're going to be working on, okay, how do we move this consciousness so that it's the competitive things and the things which gave rise to a kind of sickness can be worked with in a more harmonious way. Jodian, what did you want to add?
Yeah, well, we can't, like Jack always says, when we do the transition, the primordial slime, us, the people that are living in this present day system, where we haven't had the emotional training, we haven't had the emotional environment, we haven't had the RBE upbringing yet. So we're still dragging our preconceived reactions to problems. So of course it's going to be crime, but definitely 100% RBE, what it will do was eliminate all crime bar mental illness crime. So that's emotional crime, crimes of passion. I mean, if you look at the statistics for murder at the moment, it's all by your loved ones. Murder is committed by your person closest to you. So it's, and what we're trying to propose to do with the RBE environment is family members won't be stressed anymore. They'll have emotional training, emotional strengthening in an RBE environment. So most of the arguments between loved ones and these murders that happen won't even happen because they're not coming home at the end of the evening or when they interact with each other. They're coming from a position of absolutely no stress. They're not carrying the person's not carrying you. So it's a totally different dynamic. So of course it's going to happen for the first years because of us people here, or the people like us born in these centuries and these ages. But the people that are brought up in the RB environment, they will be much more emotionally stable. They will have no stresses whatsoever, apart from their own stress that they put on themselves as naturally as humans. And, so I can only see mental illness and then as a problem, and that will even die out because now all children who have a mental illness are going to be brought up in a loving environment. So their predisposition to going towards violence just will slow down and will die out. All the things that we have as abhorrent behavior because of their mental illness will all die out as well because their environments improve. And we believe, we don't know, we believe that with somebody's environment to be beautiful and wonderful and creative and free, that they won't ever need to be emotionally weak and get into a fight, emotionally weak and say have jealousy, emotionally weak and want to punish your partner or your family member by killing them. I don't think we'll be that emotionally weak anymore. We'll be emotionally stable.
Okay, yeah, great points, Jodian. We're coming almost to the end, so I see Nicholas, I'd like to let you go first, and then Nuno, and then you, Semi, and then I'd like to round up.
I just need to reformulate. I think this is going to come out as a bit of a mess, but I'll try to make it as straightforward as possible. Just on the basic point of what Stephanie first brought up is I do worry about the ism kind of thing, because the moment we offer a kind of ism, as in everything's all figured out, just sit back and relax, don't think anymore, just let, I think people switch their brains off, and that always scares me. I want people to see the problems that are currently present and see how a RBE addresses them. And I think it brings up an interesting point within the RBE where, in the case where we have automated decision making, where machines are capable of making decisions better than humans, once that system is set up, if that system becomes obsolete in some kind of way, how do we ensure that that system is aware of it and it can transition to a new one, or it can evolve adequately? So how do we make sure that all of our needs, once they evolve past what an RBE can give us, how do we make sure that that is heard by the decision making that's in place? That's just an interesting question that arose, and I don't know if anyone has any takes on that. On mental illness, I'm kind of, I'd also be interested how it evolves with technological progress, because every year we're understanding more and more of about the human brain, how it functions. We're getting better resolution images of it, and we're getting close to mapping it, or like having an understanding of how it works. So I think it will be very interesting to see how that combined with other technologies like artificial intelligence maybe taking over even psychologists and counseling, or how new medical procedures could cure certain medical issues. Like, I personally suffer from anxiety and I don't understand how it works, but like if that can be just cured in some way, like either via, I know that there are these chat bots now. I've never properly tried one out, but like they're supposed to be a counselor. But I'm also wondering, like, all of those problems that right now we can't see be solved by an RBE, how technologies, especially that could be highlighted with an RBE, and because we wouldn't want to, in capitalism, there's no incentive to invest in that and to develop them. In an RBE, there might be more incentive, especially like if you're shifting education from you're learning shit to get a job to you're learning shit to become a better human being and to live your life to the fullest.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Nicholas.
Yeah.
You know, as soon as life becomes the primary unit of capital, all these things are going to shift. Hold on to that one question of yours. I want to move on to Nuno and Semi, and then to Steve, and let's see what we can do with that. Nuno, you wanted to say something?
Okay, first of all, I'd like to address some brief words to Stephanie regarding that issue she has with friends of people about RBE now. As I see RBE now, I don't see as a mandatory resource-based economy to start now. I see it as take every one of us to start acting now. Maybe when I see it that way, I don't get any kind of expectations towards it, and I see it in a more peaceful point of view when I see people saying RBE now to starting now. The transition first. Of course, we have to have a transition. It may take really a long time, but the point of view is to start acting now in all the fields. And then I'd like to address some words to Money Free Party and particularly to Jodian. When I see the way or the solution, the project of implementing a resource-based economy on Great Britain, first I'd like to remember some analysis that really indeed Jack Fresco did and even Peter Joseph did. Regarding that, they see no way, they see no solution of building a resource-based economy, either being holistic. I share those envisionments because I can't see how Great Britain can go with system without money or either possessions, and I can see how even Great Britain or any other country needs other countries in the point of view of the resources, of any kind of materials, any kind of resources, that the only way that can be provided is to be in trade with money. For that,
I understand. Yeah, it's the whole. It's an issue about whether it's possible in one town or one country, or it has to be global. That's a really big topic, and if we start on that now, we'll be here until 10 o'clock. So
okay.
But I understand exactly where you're coming from, and that was a good point also about what you said to Stephanie about when people say we need a resource-based economy now. That's basically more of a call to action. Yeah, we have to do something now. Stephanie, are you okay?
Sorry, I got some technical issue here. Just ignore me.
Okay. Let's see. Semi, is it okay if I let Steve talk first, since he hasn't had any time yet this evening? Steve?
All right. Yeah, just some general things. I know in the beginning, everyone was talking about Jodian too, about you tell the people about the RBE and people love it, but then they're just mystified as how, the transition, how we're going to get there. And that's why with what I'm trying to do here, in some of you have heard this, others haven't, but with the Money Free Party in the US is try to say, okay, maybe we can have a temporary currency, when we get off the private banking institutions, the Federal Reserve, all this, do away with that. But instead of going straight to no money, which people just cannot comprehend, what if we just have a temporary currency during the transition for a few years as we set up infrastructure to produce the things we need? Maybe this will help along the way, but at the same time, we can be using blockchain, and I don't know about Bitcoin, but these things are all, they haven't been ironed out yet. But if we have a system where we can have a UBI, every month somebody can get $1,000 or $2,000 every month. It's just a game anyway. Money is just a game the way it's being played now. So we'll just make it our game, and we'll give everybody $2,000 a month, and that's your survival money. Because the problem everyone has now when they want to work towards community projects is they come home from work and they're just so exhausted, they have no time to do anything else. So if you provide this survival money and suddenly people don't have to worry about food and housing, they've got that, then people will be able to work in community gardens, in volunteering for community projects, and it will begin to happen right there. This is a step where we can possibly, move into a resource-based economy, but then also concentrate on the thing about automation and how we can produce an abundance of things, maybe not everything right off the bat. So we take it step at a time. Here, we've now, after 2 years, we've got our community gardens producing enough food, and so we have an abundance of that. We can make that free. And now we can make this free. Some things are still scarce. Okay, we'll play the money game that we're playing with our temporary currency to move this along. But when people begin to see that we can make things abundant and then make them free, it's a step-by-step thing which I think people can comprehend. And I don't think it's a bad plan at all to try to prove to people that we can produce in abundance rather than just believe us. Oh,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
we can do this. No, let's see it. You want to see it? Okay, we'll show you. Here we are now. We're not worried about starving because we've got enough money to get by. So we can now produce this. And here it is in abundance. We don't need to charge for it anymore. And then as that starts to happen, you know, people will get the idea, oh, look what we can do. And it can snowball and it can move ahead a lot quicker. So this is the kind of plan I'm trying to push here with the money-free party in the U.S. I'm just trying to not lose people right off the bat when they can't comprehend it. And I guess that's enough for now. I could go on.
That's fine, Steve, because I think, you know, everybody recognizes how exactly transition is going to take place is absolutely that's probably the most organic part of the whole thing, and where everybody's going to be having to be able to contribute, and that great minds are going to have to be able to work together. Semi, I'm going to let you say one more thing, and then Jodian, I know you wanted to say something. I think since you're our guest tonight, I'll let you be the last one to have a word. And Nicholas, if you would put that question of yours on the, would you message it to me so that I can use it in a different social meeting? If you can still remember it.
I can't, but I'll do a search in my mind.
Great. Okay, Semi, and then Jodian, and then I'm going to close the meeting.
Okay, so I forgot many things what I was going to say, but two things I have in my mind. That is, one was about security. You know, the prisons. Will there be? But I don't think that we can think how we will react, how people will react in the future without money, because maybe there will be no families, maybe there will be no religions, there will be no oppressions with Christian or something like that, and we can't predict how people will react, because we know under Christians they go to boys or something, you know, some oppression, they get distracted and they go to different sexual things to harm people because they feel dominated, they feel oppressed, and they feel, you know, some psychological things are going on. So we can't predict that. So I don't know about that. And the second issue is about if it is possible to have an isolated, not a global resource-based economy, but an isolated thing. And I think it is possible to a degree, because it depends on the, you know, we have big powers trying to dominate us. So if we can find a route to have some kind of, you know, we can invest money, we can buy land, and we can say, okay, we are not using your money, but we are just trying to, but how we will know that US military will not see it as a threat and bomb us like they do to many countries? Because, you know, we are fighting against a power structure here, to be, you know, and they will make, if we grow enough, I think they will announce us as a threat, as an enemy, and they can do harm to us, you know, if we become the threat. So that's another thing to consider, I think. So thank you. That's all my
yeah, that's a good point, Semi. And I just, in response to your last point, I just want to say, in terms of trying to win on the basis of weapons, that's not possible. They're always going to have more. We're going to have to win on a completely different basis, and that's going to be having to appeal to what unites us, what unites all of humanity. That's where we're going to have to do it. We can't win it with money. We can't win it with weapons, and we can't even win it by having intellectual arguments No, it's got to come on the people basis. Jodian?
Well, I wanted to answer 3 points. Nicholas had a point, Stephanie had a point, and Nuno had a great point. Nuno, I'm going to leave your one to last because it may take 2 minutes longer than the rest. And I'm just going to do a simple version of what I say to people when they ask this very astute problem. So, first of all, Nicholas, you talking about building into the framework how change happens. RBE is all about change. You know, our city centres are going to be learning centres where we constantly update our life systems. You know, that is part of the framework is built into RBE, is that it is a constantly evolving society. You know, we're always going to be updating things that we learn. You know, so I hope that kind of gets to, you know, you was worried about the framework of how change is going to be and how decisions are going to be implemented. But that's very much RBE all over it. So we want to evolve. We want to learn about everything and then improve everything. Stephanie, I just wanted to remind you, you know, with your arguments with other people about RBE, to tell them that the present system that we are living in is actually forced on us by the sword. We don't sign a contract when we're born to say, hey, yeah, let's live in a capitalist society. So I just wanted to mention that to you. It is forced on us at the moment. So if we present an idea that people can choose to live with or not, I think is a step forward in human evolution. Just a help for you, perhaps, you know. Nuno, you mentioned about how can a country in a planet be RBE. It's very simple. RBE uses its framework. We use the resources we have, that gives us the decisions we can make anywhere we are. So when we go to another planet, you know, whatever the resources are on the planet is going to create our mind. So whatever resources we have in the UK is what's going to create our society. Now, with trade, like you said, you know, there are some sort of minerals and stuff like that. Luckily now there's battery technology that beats lithium. So we've got no problems with batteries no more, because graphene is a much better source and it's fundamental source in the universe. So we can make unlimited batteries by ourselves now without the need of lithium. But what we would do for trade, now UK happens to be a net exporter of ore, metal ores. So we send our ores off to all the other countries and they make the steel and they make the aluminiums and they sell it back to us. We've completely killed off our steel and metal industry, but we actually export ore. So what I'd imagine we're doing, and I'm playing around with this idea because obviously I need consensus in every decision I make, but what we would do is carry on selling ore on the open market. And with that money, we'd be able to put our embassies in other countries and allow our citizens, RBE citizens, to travel on holiday whenever they want to, because they have access to a currency that can be used over there. And that would be the only use of the currency we make from that trade-off with the ore. So we'd be getting, with the ore that we'd be selling and anything else we can find that we can export, if we needed it. And of course, it'd be a fine balance to allow all of our citizens free travel around the world whenever they want to. And of course, and not losing out our own quality of life. And also, you know, to have embassies around the world. And that would be purely the reason why we would do that until the world becomes globalized. But RBE is a framework, and wherever you land, you measure out your borders and then you find out what resources it have, and that's how you live your society. So we can be anywhere. I mean, even on a desert island, you can have a resource-based economy a society. And that's all. You know, just
Jodian, brilliant. Okay, well, I think this has been a super. Sorry, I'm gonna have to close the meeting now, Nuno. But I'm sure you can get in touch with Jodian because he had some good ideas there. You guys all can get in touch with each other if you want to talk about this more. But I'm going to close off the meeting now with just a few notices. Well, this was really great. I thought the energy here tonight was great, and you all made wonderful contributions. So I'm really happy that we had this. I think we've got to have more of these social meetings. We've got a busy schedule coming up. Now, a couple of people talked about blockchain and new currencies. Well, that's what we're going to be hearing about in 2 weeks. when Gabor Kiss, who is from Envienta, and that's a company that is about open sourcing everything. And he's going to be giving a presentation called Blockchain Useful Applications for New Currency and Organization Structures. So that's on the 25th of March. On the 8th of April, Andrew Lamb is going to be talking to us about the impact of dietary choices, problems and solutions, and talking about having RBE in one community. We're going to be having on the 22nd of April, Lee Welsh from the Ubuntu party talk to us about their one small town approach. In May, I'm going to definitely be going to schedule a social meeting on the 6th, and we may have another guest speaker, Scott Andrew from Project Sanity in New Zealand, which I recently did an interview with some other people in the World Summit. He's going to be talking to us about the primary axiom, the universal human economy. I'm not sure if he wants to give a presentation or if we're going to have it in the social meeting. If he does a presentation, maybe we'll find someone else that wants to be a guest speaker. I like how this format worked out tonight. So yeah, we should maybe do this some more. Okay, guys. Well, I'm going to wrap things up now. Thanks so much, everybody, for coming. And
See you guys.
Soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks for
Great.
coming, Matt, and thanks for your contribution on that last chat. Really
Yeah,
nice.
thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
Okay, bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.
See you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.